Hello world, and we are back. My name's Kyle Fischl, and this is going to be episode 48 of my poker vlog. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about strategy from playing in the big blind. My general philosophy from playing from the big blind in multi-way pots is to play an extremely wide range in order to protect your hands that are marginal but have definitely potential to make money, and then using your tight image to be able to pull off some bluffs on later streets. So in this episode I'm going to talk about a bunch of hands all played from the big blind in limped pots, and then one just pretty massive hand at the end. We're gonna get right into it. First hand, with 3 limps to me, I'm in the big blind with ace jack offsuit, and I limp. I know what you're thinking, you should never limp with this hand. But like I said, this is for a long-term strategy. The value of protecting my big blind checking range is definitely more important than winning any single like $12 pot. I'm gonna limp this one because we need to have some strong hands into our limping range. So we're gonna check. The flop is jack 7 deuce rainbow. It checks to me and I check. A very passive line, because on this specific board, I'm not really afraid of anything at all. If a king or queen hits the turn, yeah, it's my fault. I could have protected against it, but I'm really just going for some image building with including this hand in my checking range. And on this hand, it checks all the way through. The turn is an offsuit 5. Now it's time to go for some value. I full pot at $16. One middle position player calls and everyone else folds. Now on any safe turn card, I can bet half to 3/4 pot and probably win, as my hand is very under repped and there's plenty of weak single pair hands and weak jacks that can call me here. Well, the river is the queen of diamonds.
What will you learn? What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
Not really what I'm looking for, as all queens got there and any opponent can just peel one with overs and hit it. So I check to him, preparing to call a medium-sized bet and just, you know, if he has it, he has it. But my opponent checks back and has 7-8. A small pot with small value, but the reason I include this hand and play it this way is I want the entire table to see that I'm limping ace jack offsuit. It gives all my raises a lot of perceived strength if I'm willing to check ace jack and even checking on a jack high board. It builds a very tight image which you can use to exploit later on. So next interesting hand, I'm in the big blind with 4 limps to me. I have 6-4 of clubs and I check it back. So we go to a flop 5 ways, which comes ace 6-5. Now, as we've seen in the last hand, I could have an ace here. I don't, but I could.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
With that being said, I'm still going to check, and it checks all the way through again. It's a fantastic result, as I do have a pair, plenty of backdoor draws, so I definitely want to continue this hand, but I don't want to face too much pressure on later streets. The turn is the 10 of clubs, brings in my flush draw. Now I'm willing to call a bet of any size and just take my hand to the river and hopefully it improves. Well, an opponent bets $15. There's one caller and I call as well. The river does improve my hand. It is a 4.
I made it! Yeah! All my teachers came my asshole!
Not quite in the way I would like it to, but definitely a hand that I'm very happy with now. So much so that I'm going to lead out here because I don't want the hand to check through, and I most likely have the best hand here. So I bet $30 and the turn aggressor raises to 90. Kind of an interesting spot. Like, what exactly is he saying he has here? Maybe exactly ace 10? Maybe a set of 10s? But would you limp a set of 10s? 7-8 did get there, but that's only one pretty conceivable hand that someone could have. So the fact that I made 2 pair, I beat all aces, which could do this as well. He's been very aggressive, especially when playing against me. So I'm going to call this one and see what he has. This opponent had king 9 of clubs, so turned a flush draw and tried to turn it into a bluff at the end. So next interesting hand. With 3 limps to me, I'm on the big blind with pocket 4s, and this is actually a hand where you could raise a lot of the time because your hand is strong enough to just take it down. I find it better to just take your free flop, hope to set mine. If you flop a set, you're probably going to make a decent amount of money that makes this hand even more profitable in the long term. So you give up the $12 immediate profit for the chance at much more if you hit a set. So I check, and the flop is 9-6-4. So definitely gonna make a lot more than $12 on this hand, most likely.
That's right, folks.
Hello, I like money.
It is assured when the small blind leads out for $16. I'm definitely just going to call here. He potted it on that board. Don't quite know what he's saying he has. 9-6, 6-4. I beat all that. 5-7. You know, there's nothing I'm really worried about. He shouldn't have too many pocket nines or pocket sixes. And if he does, it's just a cooler, and he was probably going to call a raise anyway. So I call, and I am the only caller. The turn is the 5 of spades. It does bring in some of the straight draws there on the flop, namely 7-8. But that's only one hand that kind of got there, and my set is still pretty good. My opponent pots it a second time. $48 is his bet. Definitely making me not believe him even more, because I think if you were bluffing on the flop with a straight draw and you hit it, you'd probably bet a little bit less and try to get some value when you actually made your hand, and not force me out of my hand if you actually made a nutted hand in this point. So I'm going to call again and see what the river is. The river is the Queen of Diamonds. Not a particularly scary card unless he has exactly pocket queens, which don't really know why the small blind would limp queens, but it's possible. And my opponent bets $96. So this is a very easy call. If I was ahead on the turn, I'm ahead now. Unless you had exactly 7-8 or flopped a set, I'm probably good here. So I'm going to call this one as well. And my opponent has Jack 8 of spades. Flop lead was strange, but the turn continuation is acceptable. The river, guess you're turning your straight blocker into a bluff. Probably a good bluff river card if I had like just a two pair, like 5-6. May think about folding, as Queen 9 is definitely a possibility for that line. But having a set and being able to beat that hand already is a pretty easy call. So unlucky he ran into it when he's trying to bluff. Right now I'm going to take a second to pause the poker and ask you to pause the video and hit that subscribe button.
Do it! Just do it! Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it!
Helps out the channel a ton. Lets me know that you appreciate my content, and I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Next interesting hand. With 6 limps to me, I'm in the big blind with 9-4 of hearts. Definitely bigger than average player participation, and I'm never really gonna get them to fold. And I've made a long-term checking strategy with my big blind. So we're gonna check this one and see if we can't get a favorable flop. Well, the flop is 10-6-3-2 hearts. It's pretty good for my hand. When it's checked to me and I'm in the big blind, this is where I'm finally gonna try to utilize the tight image I've gained to actually semi-bluff and steal a hand. So I bet nearly full pot. I bet $18. 2 opponents call. I bet this because I could have all the sets here. I could have 3s, I could have 6s, maybe 10s sometimes, but kind of unlikely. But I also have 10-6, 10-3, and 3-6. I have all the 2 pairs combinations. I can also balance that with 4-5, and my exact hand is 2 random hearts. So I think this is a good board to barrel at when you're in the big blind, as it kind of smashes your entire range. When the 2 callers happen, I'm probably gonna shut it down unless I hit my heart. Well, the turn is a 7. I was thinking about shutting it down, but that card actually improved me. I definitely like continuing on cards that, when I make my hand, would make it super disguised. So if an 8 came, no one would ever really think I have a 9 here and went runner, as I really shouldn't. And not many other should either. Not many people should have made a gut shot with exactly 8-9. And my hearts are still live, and I'm a 2-way straight draw now, additionally with a 5 giving me a straight. So I'm going to continue on this turn as well. I bet $48. First player folds, and second player raises to 140.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Really bad situation here, as he's pretty much saying he has a set or better, which is not horrible for me, as I believe if I hit one of my cards, I'm going to be able to get the entire stacks in. So with implied odds considered, I think that this is a pretty easy call. Maybe he'll fold to some hearts hitting, but I think a majority of the time I'm going to get everything on the river regardless if he has a set. So I call. The river is another 10. It's a very bad card for me.
Didn't care for it much.
Especially if I put him on a set, then he made all the full houses. I check to him and he goes all in. So it's an easy fold as I have nothing. My opponent shows 4-5 of diamonds. So he did turn the nuts and he played it very aggressively. He got pretty much the max value as if he just calls me and I whiff that river. Not too many times am I gonna go for it and act like I have a set. And with all that being said, when he jammed on that board pairing river and he did not actually have a set, I think he's gonna barrel on any heart hitting as well as any straight card that gives me a straight, even though he's blocking one. My thought process on the implied odds was there, but we do not win that hand. Still one that I found interesting. So final hand of note. This has been the biggest hand I've played this week, and it's kind of interesting. With 3 limps to me, I'm in middle position with ace queen offsuit. I raised to $16. There's actually 2 callers, and then the under the gun player raises to 69, and it folds back to me. Now this specific under the gun player has done this to me for about 3 times, all from under the gun in the same session. I'm actually not giving him too much credit for having it, as I've folded all other times. Eventually, you just gotta put your foot down and play a hand and not just give up every time you raise and get re-raised. So, ace queen offsuit's in position is definitely gonna be the one where I choose to continue with. So I call, and everyone else folds. The flop is king 10-6, 2 spades. Pretty good flop for me, all things considered. It kind of hits both of our ranges, but I think there's a lot of hands he could have that would slow down. My opponent bets half pot, he bets $80. Now what hands would limp re-raise and then half pot it? I think a lot of middling pairs does this, like 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, aces and kings are possible. All those pocket pairs I think are in there, as well as some ace kings and ace queens and all kinds of stuff like that. But when he makes it only $80, I think I'm getting a reasonable price to draw. And if he has one of those pocket pairs, then my ace is live as well. So there's plenty of high turn cards that could actually slow his action and give me the best hand or give me a strong draw. So I think this is a pretty standard spot to continue, so I call.
Lord, whatever I've done to piss you off, if you could just get me out of this and somehow let me know what it was, I promise I'll rectify the situation.
The turn is a miracle, Jack. Like, it is the most beautiful Jack I've ever seen. I can't believe I got a Jack there, honestly. I probably didn't deserve one, but I did get one, so that's nice.
Well, all right, Lord. That's enough. I've found humility. Whoa, 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 whoa. Thank you, Lord.
And he checks to me. So at this point, I want to make a sizing that's going to definitely get a good stack to pot ratio for the river so I can get stacks in, because of the hands that I mentioned, the hands I'm hoping he's weighted towards are kings, 10s, maybe ace king. All those hands are probably committed to this pot. I'm really hoping to be against an ace king here and just string him along. So I bet $170, leaving him about $340 behind. He calls, and the river is the 5 of spades. And my opponent checks to me. So some might think that's a scary card, the obvious flush draw on the flop got there. But given the exact cards on the flop and my exact blocker, I have really good card removal for the best hand. The only real spades he could have on a limp re-raise from under the gun is maybe ace jack of spades, which I don't think he's ever gonna slow down with, as he can't have ace queen and he can't have ace king or ace 10. If he had ace jack of spades, I could see him playing the same way. He would bet half pot on the flop, but would he slow down on the turn? Probably not, as he has a pair in case his royal gut shot didn't hit, but it was definitely good as well. So with all that being said, he can never really have spades here. Now I think it's a little easier for ace king to fold, as the obvious flush draw got there, but I have to just hope that he has a hand stronger. Maybe pocket kings will just do a crying call. I have to jam here and hope he talks himself into it. So I jam about $340. He thinks for a while, and he takes his entire time bank every single second before finally calling with pocket aces with the ace of spades. Yeah, I got quite lucky there. He double blocked the straight and he blocked the flush. That honestly might be the board to fold aces, as almost all king X's are 2 pairs and the spades did get there. That is a tough spot with aces, but I was quite fortunate for that. After another week of playing this game, I'm up an additional $2,436. It's definitely a fun game. Some of the bigger hands were quite standard coolers. Not really a whole lot to talk about, but I do think that having a long-term balanced strategy is the best way to get several smaller pots to help you build some long-term wealth and long-term success in poker, rather than just only playing premiums, only betting when you have it, and always folding when you don't. All right, so if you watched all the way to this point, again, thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it, and there will be more to come next week. Thank you.